But you'd like to hear about Byron. You mentioned at the height of your PTSD, you lost your family. Was she ever prepared for what was about to come after the experience you went through? And then I'd like to hear also what Senior Superintendent has to say on this.
I don't think so. Zero preparation for what happens majorly with the way we actually also interact is not normal as well, because the lady I eventually settled with was basically someone we'd met. Leaves are short, time isn't there. You don't have the luxury of time to date properly and to figure out how things are going to happen. I mean, back in the day when our parents were growing up, they'd send people out to go recce and know what actually happens with their family. So it was really deep and grounded on a lot of things that engendered interdependencies, and you had a lot of things that you share in common, and so you can compromise on the few. And I think that's what brings people together in terms of what a family has got to be structured on. So in our case, 9 out of 10 you'd be meeting people in bars or in social places or things like that, and so you completely different people reeling away and cohabiting totally different worlds. Truth is, we are mental beings experiencing a physical living, okay? So marriage as it is, or having a life partner is something that is really grounded and should be grounded on a lot of things that you can enjoy together, and then being able to compromise on the fewest that have to exist, because you are definitely different in areas here and there. So again, there was zero preparation even from the onset. We took off from the blocks with loads and loads of differences.
Okay. And
there's nothing totally wrong with her to have been the way she was, and totally wrong again with me, the way I was brought up, and what I actually had to go through in terms of what the army made me to be what I was. So again, coming to I think what Milka also asked in terms of, and this is in psychology, and it's a principle in psychology they call illusory superiority, where based on what someone called Garrison talked about in a Midwestern town, a fictional Midwestern town where all children are above average. But that is not the way life is. Not all of us are above average. If anything, most is based on a reflection of that adjective most. And where we are right now, not all of us are exceptional. Okay. The majority of us are average, and of course average is mediocre. So start to think about it from what we hold very dear to ourselves, which is a lot of introspection, a lot of personal awareness, and be that individual within this collective society that's going to be thinking about what you actually want out of your life, and how you're going to move to the next level. So you always, what psychologists call failing forward. So if you meet, and people will go through mistakes, they are there in life, and those are things that strengthen you. So as I said, onwards and upwards. Whatever you can do now to make yourself better, you make your neighbor better, being a brother's keeper, are very vital in life.
All right. Madam Jerry, is there any consideration for this to happen henceforth? Because there's services where you people offer not normal services. You cannot categorize them under normal services. Are the families prepared, and is this something you're considering as a police force?
Okay, thank you, Trevor. What I can say is that the officers are usually prepared. They actually go through retirement training a few years before retirement, and also maybe 2 to 3 years before retirement, most of them are deployed to areas closer to their home, just to be able to reintegrate back into the society. But in terms of the spouses, they're not, I can say they're not really properly prepared for that.
Okay. And is this something you would consider as a police force?
Yes, I think we should.
Because it's clearly coming out from the veterans, what they're saying is that they're not ready.
Yes.
They're not prepared for reintegrating their spouses when they come back.
Yeah.
All right. Mashirima?
Naam, turejee tena kuhusiana na maswali ambayo yanafungamana na mafunzo ambayo yanatolewa kwa maafisa wa ulinzi. Vincent, tafadhali simama.
Okay, thank you, Mashirima. I'm Vincent, a student at St. Paul's University, and I would like to know, is there any roles given to our police women and men to deal with our citizens who are striking, especially our comrades in the universities, so that we avoid extrajudicial killings? Thank you.
And I think it's not just about the police officers. There are also a lot of wananchi who are afraid of anyone in uniform.
Thank you. What I can say is that we should not be afraid of anyone in uniform. Remember, we are also human beings, and we came from the society, and we'll still go back to the society. So what I would encourage even members of public is to interact more with police officers, because again, security is part of all of us, not only for police officers. So when we work together, I think we can have a safer society. On issues of picketing and demonstrating, I think that is clearly demonstrated in the law. You need to officially be allowed to be able to get permission from the officer in charge of that area of jurisdiction to be able to be given your right in the Constitution to picket or to demonstrate, as long as it's peaceful.
All right.
Just about picketing and striking, it's also about how people in uniform handle wananchi. Is there some sort of training in how they handle wananchi? Because I know wanajeshi wanatuona sisi ni raia. Kuna vile ambavyo wanafunzwa kuwa kuna jinsi ambavyo huwezi kuhandle mwananchi wa kawaida, sije kila wakati akimwona mtu ambaye ana uniform anakuwa na wasiwasi. Byron?
Okay.
Jerry should answer that one.
I thought it was going to go to Jerry.
Yeah, most definitely.
But then, I mean, training is, I'll speak for myself and I'll speak for the army, okay? The training is absolutely thorough. But as, just like everything else that we go through, just like the education that you go through, not all of you guys are going to come at the top of the class. Not all of you guys will come at the top of the class. Ideally, you'll go through the same curriculum training, and that's what happens with even ourselves. I mean, some of the things that happen, clearly, the extrajudicial killings that we've heard about are a product of sometimes individuals going beyond their mandate, and there's always that rotten potato in a bag of potatoes, right? There's no training that says that when you go out there, then you take a life that doesn't meet the threshold of it being taken, and the laws are very clear as to the guidelines, and for us the rules of engagement are also very clear, okay? In terms of now the outcomes of the same, and I think I'll expand the boundaries a little bit. We had a discussion on AM Live at one particular point, and our police force was clearly rated, was it number 3, and the streams that were considered were, processes, there were outcomes, and the other 2. Now, in terms of outcomes of your involvement, critical to that is preparation in the first place. So how do we get the raw material that we put through the production process to get a very professional police officer or army officer at the end of the day? Our country is, stuck in the mud with several ills. I've been exposed to people asking me in my back here that we have this boy that he's had his secondary school exams, but right now he's really a pain in the backside of the chief because he's doing drugs and all sorts of. Could you find him a job within the police force or in the army? Do we need that kind of raw material to take through the processes? And what outcomes would you have from such a person when he's now being put through the production process? It's going to be the person who's going to be, yes, well and good, he's been taken through this process, but he's not benefited from it because it wasn't the right raw material in the first place. Okay? So as a society, we got to be thinking, and that's why I'm totally wedded to basics. Even in the community of the deadliest of soldiers in which I come from, which is the Special Forces, we say it's basics done exceptionally well that make us. Yeah. And so you'll find we are totally balanced individuals. We can be one thing, 1 minute, and the next we the happiest and the most stable of guys to handle the most serious business of life.
Okay. All right, Mashirima. Before I take final comments.
Swali la mwisho sasa. Sarafina, tafadhali simama.
Okay, asante. I'm Sarafina from St. Paul's. My question goes to the psychologist. I've come to realize that as young people, they have not yet been trained on who they are, whereby you find that they are loving too much until they are forgetting who they are. That is why it's leading to them killing themselves and also hurting others, because they don't know who they are. They are so much focused on career-wise